Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to do a video review of my Letter of the Week preschool curriculum. So if you're interested in seeing that, stick around and let's take a closer look. Alright, so this is a binder that I made up for a conference that we went to kind of show what was included in the Letter of the Week, and I thought it would be easy to show you guys as well on video. So it does include a weekly Bible verse, a list of read aloud books, of course phonics practice. They're going to go through one letter each week, and then there's all kinds of skills that are kind of incorporated into that letter. So they'll learn lowercase and uppercase recognition. They're also going to learn 1 to 10 number recognition, counting, colors, shapes, lots of fine motor skill practice with lacing, cutting, coloring, and pre-writing skills. And then there's also quite a few logical thinking games like puzzles and size sorting and matching and that kind of thing. And then there's also movement that's included, like, large body movement. We play number hopscotch, which is lots of fun. And then there's songs, arts, crafts, and then there's our daily calendar and weather and clothing and, things like that. So that's kind of an overview of what's included in the curriculum. All right, the other thing that's included is a printable list for you of the A to Z memory verses, but for the kiddos, there's these printable cards, and I just printed them on cardstock, and they have the letter, and then they have the verse that goes with that, so you can just put it up on your calendar board or whatever is the easiest way for you guys to review those verses every day for that week so that they get them down pat. And then in the binder, just to show folks a little bit easier, there's several games that correlate with each letter. So there's A for ant, B for butterfly, C for caterpillar, and this is kind of just a quick overview. It's not all the games, but to show you that there's several different games that go along with each letter in the alphabet, and the themes are kind of spread out, so it's not super girly or super boyish. It's just kind of like an overall general theme. And if you don't like one of the themes on here, there are several alternative themes that I also have you can download for free on my website under the free printables link. So as you can kind of see, we'll take a closer look, but there's several games for each letter all the way A to Z through the alphabet. Alright, the next thing that's included are the weather printables, and actually there's several calendar time printables that are free on my website. If you go to the free printables section and then click on calendar time, you'll see a ton of stuff, but and these are just a couple that I still had. Some are still on our calendar board, but they will go over, we review what today, tomorrow, and yesterday was. So for example, if today is Tuesday, you'll put the today tab there, the tomorrow tab on Wednesday, and the yesterday tab on Monday. And I just use little Velcro dots on all of these, like the furry side on here and then the hook side on these, so that you can move them around quite easily. And then there's also another one that's similar, which is what is the weather today, and it's kind of the same thing. It comes with several. These are just a couple samples for the fair that I did, but it comes with several of these cards, so you can kind of put them up there each day. And then at the end of the day, it's always, or the end of the week, we always talk about which weather we had the most of and the least of, and you'll see we talk about appropriate clothing and whatnot when we get to the daily learning notebook. And then if you want, there's also a weather graph in there as well, so you can put it up on like your calendar and have them just color in, the weather for each month. So that also helps give an overview of what it looks like. In the curriculum is also what are called letter collage sheets, and they're large letter sheets. They look like this, and then each week, whatever letter you're on, you make a fun little collage, and this is just a collage idea. So for example, for the letter A, you could glue apple seeds or apple jacks on there. For B, you could do beans or buttons. C, I have Cheerios or cotton balls. So there's just ideas of things that you can glue on here or stamp on here, or they can paint them, color them, whatever they want, but it's kind of fun to glue on items that, start with that letter. So those are the collage. And then there's also additional recommended reading. If you want to do some extra reading, you can always hit up your library and just go and find books that correlate with the theme that week as well. That's super easy, and we also did that. But just to give you an idea, I had several by letter ideas in here that show you, letter A, here's a bunch of different books. So it's just a fun reading list that you can add in if you're having a hard time finding things that go with it. And just to give you some more additional, projects if you want. And then at the very end, there's a preschool assessment that's included, and you might be having a hard time seeing this, but But this is just a checklist, and I actually do it at the beginning just to see where we are. I do it, and here's the fall and the spring. And then so in the spring I do it again just to see what kind of progress we've made and if there's anything we still need to work on. I don't share these results with my kids. I just kind of do a quick assessment on my own so that I know what they're doing and, you know, if there's anything I need to work on more before the year is up and that kind of thing. So this is really just an assessment to give me an idea of how they're doing and making sure that I've covered everything they need to cover so they're ready to get into kindergarten. All right, and then of course I also include lesson plans, and this first page of the lesson plans, I know it looks kind of small on camera, but it's all linkables with additional resources or anything that I thought might also be helpful. They're certainly not needed, they're totally optional. But they're just some of the extra fun things that we did for preschool that we enjoyed. Here's a list of how to print out your daily learning notebook, which is free on my blog, how to make the ABC binder that is referenced in the lessons, and then the song list that we sing for the week. And then for each week, you'll see it says letter A up here, and Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. If you do not want to do a 5-day preschool, you certainly don't have to. You can skip some of these activities. You can combine some days. It kind of depends on your child and what their skill level is and also what their attention span is, like how young you're starting them and that kind of thing. But it will tell you on Monday, then it just goes down these line items. It tells you what to do. You're introducing a letter that day. You're singing the song. You're telling them what the letter sounds make and all that kind of thing. And then you're going to do these activities. And this refers to the file names that come on either the CD or download, so it's pretty easy to find. Since there are so many activities, these are all the letter A for Apple activities, which I'll show you in a minute. I highly suggest preparing this in advance, and so normally what I do over the summer is I will get all of the letters kind of printed out and put in baggies and just organized so that when it comes time to actually do school, it's really easy for me to pull these games out. We aren't skipping anything, and it just makes it super easy to we use the workbox system, which I'll link in the description bar below, but it's really easy for me to just put the games in their drawers really quickly, and then next day when they're done, next day I can just pull out all my next games, and it just makes it a lot easier to prepare and all of that kind of thing if you're planned ahead. This section up here is kind of what I call group time, but it depends on how many little guys you have. But you say the Pledge of Allegiance, and then there's a song that you go through, an emotion song, and then here's the instructions for what to do for calendar time and the date. You're going to review like what yesterday was, what tomorrow is. You're going to talk about the weather. You review your memory verse, and then you do your daily learning notebook, which I'll also show you in just a minute. And then you review the flashcards for whatever letters you have learned thus far. And so you're constantly reviewing and repeating the information. So by the time you're done with this curriculum, they really do have it down pretty well. And all of the weeks are fairly similar. I start out with all of the vowels first. So you're going to start out week 1 with letter A, E, I, O, and U, and then you'll move into the consonants from there. So I do get a lot of questions about why I do that order, and the reason that I do is because once you start with the vowels, and they have the vowel sounds down, and these are just short vowel sounds for preschool, then you can start adding in when you get to the letter B. You'll see there's an activity in here called the letter ladders. Sorry. And so they learn how to start combining the letter B with the letter A. So B says B and A says A, so you put them together and you get ba, and then you get be, bi, ba, and ba. And that's just the beginning of learning how to read. And so you'll be doing those activities as you hit each consonant, combining it with the vowel sounds, just to get used to doing a basic beginning blending sound for pre-reading skills, basically. So that's the reason I teach those in that order. I find that it works really well. Once you hit the consonants, you really can kind of go in any order that you like. For example, you know, S is for snowman in here, and if you happen to live in an area where it's starting to snow, you might choose to do the letter S that day. I don't think it really matters once you get to the consonants, but I do suggest that you teach the vowels first. Alright, so most of you know that I store my Letter of the Week projects or games in 3-ring binders. These are 1-inch 3-ring binders, and I just put them all up along my shelves, and I put all the games for 1 letter in each binder. I don't know if I had to do it all over again if I would do that, because it takes up a lot of space, and then you're ending up with like 26 binders. So I think if I had to do it again, I would just put all the games for like letter A in a manila envelope That way it would take up a lot less space, and it'd also be less expensive as well. So just a suggestion there on the storage, but you can do whatever works for you. You can do hanging file folders or whatever. I just suggest that you keep all of the games for each letter kind of together so they're easy to find when you need them. All right, so here is my letter K binder, and it just has a letter K on the side of it, and it's going to be kind of messy, but this is just honestly how I stored this stuff. So I obviously used my pockets to kind of help keep some of the games in. Anything that was large and just didn't really need to be in a page protector, I stuck in here. Also, you know, things that might be just worksheets that I need to pull out quickly or whatever. Here's a sample of my K4 numbers writing practice, and normally I have a little metal hoop on here, but I just swapped that same metal hoop out for each week for the new books, and it's easier to store without it as well. But here's the numbers writing practice, and so these are laminated. Again, these are laminated only on the fronts, not on the backs, just to save money. And I literally took an entire sheet of paper, I did that with these two, stuck them back to back, ran them through my laminator, and then when you cut out along the edges, they come apart, and then you have lamination on the front but not on the back. That makes it a lot more durable if you plan to use this for more than one child. Now, I will say that you do not have to laminate all of these games. I did it because I have 4 children, and my oldest didn't go through the letter of the week, but all the rest of them did, and so, or actually no, just 2 of them did. But anyways, I knew we were going to be using these quite a bit, and so I wanted them to be a little bit more durable and sturdy. And that kind of thing. So these are laminated, and we use Expo dry erase markers on there, and so it's really easy for them to practice tracing these numbers, and then they can erase them and do it again, and erase them and do it again, and however many times you think they need practice on those. And then the rest of them, these are just page protectors that we put in, and if we have little pieces, I just put them into a baggie like this, and they're kind of in the same page protector with their bigger items, and these were counters, so they would put, you know, as many bows as they needed on each one. So this one would only need 1 bow, this one would need 2, and so on. And so I just kind of keep those all together. These were too big to fit in the bag, and so I just put them together, but in this. And just to conserve space, I have more than 1 game in these page protectors. So here's the magnet game. And I get a lot of questions on this. I just used this fun little blue cookie sheet, put these on here, and then we have these little round magnets that you just put 1 in each spot, and as you can see, they stay because they're magnets. This cookie sheet I purchased as a part of a phonics like kit, and it came with magnetic like word tiles, and so we just found that it worked really well for this, and it was a nice small size. So I will link that below. It's an older product, and I'm not sure exactly if you can still get it, but I think I have still seen it around. So anyways, that's that, and in just a minute I'll go through all of the kind of manipulatives that I recommend for the letter of the week as well. So this is just how I store it. So each letter gets their own binder, and I just kind of put whatever I feel like can kind of fit into each one of these. Like I said, these are in a little baggie, these are not. It just kind of depends on the size of the item. And that way it's really easy for me to come in here, and when it calls for something, I just can quickly pull it out and we're good to go. So I have all of this pre-planned ahead. All right. I did want to show you a few of the supplies that we use frequently. You certainly do not have to have all of these supplies. We've kind of gathered them over the years, but they are fun and helpful, and we did, of course, use most of them. So I would definitely recommend, obviously, some crayons or colored pencils, you know, something to do some writing with. Of course, we use the Expo markers as well for any of the cards that we laminate. If you're not going to laminate, you certainly don't have to use those. You could have them use a regular pencil to get used to that. You could have them use markers, anything that you want. Obviously a pair of kid-friendly scissors. These are a little sharp, but my kids are a little bit older now, so if you have a younger child, you obviously want to get the round tip ones. I would suggest a ruler just because they do some measuring on some of the units. And then if you're going to do the dry erase pages, I would suggest a small little dry erase marker, or eraser as well. And then of course some glue. I like to use the stick glue because with little guys, it's definitely a lot less messy to deal with. So, and those are pretty inexpensive. I usually buy huge packs of them at the beginning of our school year, and then we go from there. Now, one of my most popular things, I think, are these do-a-dot markers, and these are basically bingo daubers, I think, that they just created and kind of renamed as a you know, preschool kind of thing. But anyways, these just, you shake them, they're full of liquid, so you don't want to press down and just leave it because it will like bleed into your paper. And as a matter of fact, and when we use these, I typically make my kids do it on like this tray back here or one of our art trays or something, because these will bleed through your paper, and I found that they're difficult to get off of my white desks. They do come off, but they, if they're on there for any length of time, it'll stain. So I suggest putting something down underneath that. But we use these for several different projects in the Letter of the Week curriculum, and my kids like to use them just for fun, for art. You can get these off Amazon or at some of your local teacher supply stores, and I think I've even seen them at places like Walmart now. So those are really fun, probably one of the top rated fun things to do by my kids anyways. The other thing that we use a lot, and I get asked questions, are these little magnets. And this particular container is actually a photo container that I got. It's like a 5x7 photo container from, I think it was from the Container Store. And I just found that they're really easy for keeping some of our manipulatives in. But these are little magnets, and I will link them for you below. I got them off Amazon, and they're called like 100 super magnets or something like that. They aren't super strong, like you couldn't put them, you know, like this on your finger or whatever, they'll just fall right off. But they are strong enough to stick to a cookie sheet for doing the magnet game, and my kids did really like these, and they're great for fine motor skills because they're smaller. You do want to keep an eye on your kids because they're also a choking hazard, so you don't want them putting them in their mouths or anything. But they're great for the fine motor skills and the kind of one-to-one correspondence, so they'll be taking one and putting it on the page in the correct spot and that kind of thing. So I do recommend getting some of those. And then you'll just need some kind of counters. We have these counting bears because they're different colors, and that makes it kind of handy for sorting and that kind of thing. But they have, you know, all kinds of different counters. You could use rocks, Cheerios, goldfish, you know, I mean, cars, any kind of little object that would be easy to kind of count and gather that interests your child. So, you know, I would go with whatever they're interested in, and then go just find like a little set of those, like animals or whatever, and you can use those all year. You don't have to purchase, you know, a different set for each letter or anything crazy like that. Here's another set of magnets that we used. I swapped them out with the other ones. We kind of went back and forth. But these are just, and I made these are just little pom-pom magnets. And so all I did was buy these little round magnets from like Walmart in the craft aisle. I think you can also get them at places like Michael's. And then a bag of pom-poms, and I just hot glued them on there. And you know, they come off after a while of use and that kind of thing. But these have lasted for a couple of years. We used to have more of them, but you know, they slowly kind of, the hot glue kind of comes off eventually. But anyways, those were also really fun to use with the magnet. So you could make your own, you could buy some, kind of up to you on that one. And then I also recommend some kind of a work tray. This one is, like I said, I'll link below, it's magnetic, so that really helped out quite a bit. Plus it's easy to clean up, so if they're going to do any kind of projects, that's nice. There's also plastic trays at Lakeshore Learning. I think they're called plastic art trays or something like that, and I'll try and link those below as well, but they aren't magnetic, so still a nice thing to use for all the different art projects that are included in this curriculum, just to keep your work area clean. Of course, you're going to need some construction paper, so I usually just go and buy a huge big stack at the beginning of the year of all different colors, and then we just use them throughout the course of the year. This happens to be what's left from last year. And then any kind of, I'm always collecting any kind of little manipulatives, and these containers are actually from fast food, like, you know, like they bring you mashed potatoes or whatever in them, and then I just washed them out and reused them. So I always have like paper clips on hand. Those are great for counting and putting onto the number cards. I also like these. I found these at, I think, Walmart or Target. These are actually magnetic, which is kind of helpful, and they're clippies, so they're great for working on their hands, the muscles in their hands, and then also they we use these to clip on like the right answer. So if they're doing like a card and they need to you know, match something or whatever, they clip this onto the right answer, and that makes that kind of fun. And then I have also these little mini ones, which are wooden ones, and we use these with our Letter of the Week flag one, and there's I put letters on them, but you can also put numbers. So here's a capital and lowercase letter, and they could use that to mark, or you could put numbers. So if, for example, this was the number 1, they could either put the number 1 on there, or they could put 1 on. So, or like if this is the number 3, they could put 3 clippies on. So that's just another way to get them counting, making an association between the number and what that really means, and also working all their little motor skills at the same time. So it's kind of covering a bunch of things all at once. And I just, like I said, just use these little plastic containers that we've gotten over the years to store those in. So that's nice and handy. All right, we scoot over just a little bit so you can kind of see this side of things. I do recommend having some kind of dice. These are just fun, large foam dice. I found them at possibly Lakeshore, I'm not sure. These got attacked by our dog, so it's barely there, but we still use them. But either way, you're going to need some dice. I recommend getting some with numbers and some with the dots so that they're starting, and you can kind of swap them out throughout the games. Most of the games have most of the letters have a game that requires some kind of dice game, and they get used to rolling and either looking at the number and reading what it is, or rolling and counting the dots to figure out what the number is. So I do recommend those. Okay, so these little math links are also kind of an optional thing that we had fun with. You can get these off Amazon. I think I got mine at Lakeshore Learning, but you can use them as sorting, colors, counting, that kind of thing. And then when I showed you my letter K before, I had little bows that come with the curriculum you can put on here, but you can also hole punch the bottom of your card and then just have your child put on the appropriate amount of links. So this is 4, so they would put on 1, 2, 3, 4 links. So that's another option for those as well. Like I said, you don't have to get those, but they're kind of a fun addition. The other thing that we have usually are a whole bag of these pom-poms, and I just get assorted colors. These are great for crafts, and they're also great counters. They're relatively harmless. They don't break, they don't damage floors or anything. They're light, they're easy for little guys to get a hold of. And we use those specifically, aside from crafts, for these. Now I found this, this is an ice cube tray maker. I found it at Bed Bath & Beyond, and then I also found these are bamboo toaster tongs actually, and these are great for fine motor skill practice and also for sorting. So I would give them like a little bucket of these, and then they can pick up one and put one in each hole like this. And this is just great for their fine motor skills, their one-to-one correspondence. You could have them sort them into you know, colors, like all the yellow ones here and all the pink ones here and that kind of thing. So this is just a great activity. It's kind of multi-use. You can have them count them. I have one of these that is just plain white, and I wrote numbers in the bottom, and so I had them put you know, that many of these little balls in based on what number was in there. So there's lots of different ways you can use these. All right, and then one of the last things I want to show you, again, totally optional. This case is like an 8x10 case from the Container Store, and it's just, oh, it's 8x8 project case, sorry, from Project Central. And I use these to store our kind of larger manipulatives, but these are pattern cards, and they use these wooden pattern blocks. And these are free on my blog as download, and they're a great kind of additional thing for the letter of the week. And I also believe that those particular cards come in the letter of the week download. These are wooden pattern blocks, like I said. They also make plastic ones. I prefer the wooden ones because of the texture, and they're also just slightly a different size, I think, than the plastic ones. I could be wrong about that, but you can buy a whole bucket of these off Amazon, and I will try and link those below as well. I've also seen these at in the school kind of section of Lakeshore Learning and some of the other local school supply stores that we have here as well. So, but these are just a great addition. Your kids can make their own. I have a ton of free printables to use for these, and then there's also printable cards. Lakeshore has a whole section of them, and I've seen others online as well, but they're great for patterning, for colors, for fine motor skills, and that kind of thing. So I do kind of recommend getting these. We played with these quite a bit, and I also have alphabet cards for these. I don't know if you remember seeing it when I was showing you the letter K, but each letter has an alphabet card that goes with these blocks, and so we did use them quite frequently. It's just another way to kind of get them used to the shape and how to make it, and they're building it, and it's a little bit more fun than just sitting there and writing it over and over and over. And like I said, it's working on several different skills because they're working on shapes, colors, fine motor skills, dexterity, and that kind of thing. So I do recommend getting these blocks, but again, all of these things are totally optional. You do not have to have any of these. Alright, so here's just kind of a recap of some of the supplies. Like I said, I do want to make sure you guys know these are totally optional. I would suggest at the very least just basic supplies like glue, crayons, scissors, and at least some kind of counter, because you will be doing a lot of counting and that kind of thing. But the rest of it's really optional, just stuff that we enjoy doing and adding into our curriculum. It is listed as activities in the curriculum, so if you want to skip over them or if you want to use them, it's completely up to you. They're not full, you know, all of this stuff. I don't want you to run out and feel like you have to buy a bunch of supplies just to do this curriculum, because you really don't. All right, so that's basically the letter of the week curriculum. There are so many activities and extra things that are included in here that it's hard to kind of show you all in one video, but I think you get the general idea of it. Obviously, you're going to be taking one letter each week and working on all of the different skills that you need to for preschool, and just correlating it back to that letter. So one thing I do want to touch on is printing costs. Now, as you know, there are, I think, close to 50 games for each letter, possibly. I didn't count them all, and they're certainly not all pictured here. However, it can be a lot of printing, and so I have two tips for you. The first one is you do not have to print absolutely everything. If you want to, you can kind of alternate activities. For, say, for letter A, you do some, and then for letter B, you do other ones, and so that you're working different skills for both letters, but you're kind of covering everything, if that makes sense. The other thing is that each letter comes with counting cards, and that is because this curriculum is also, most of it, not all of it, but is free on my blog, and so if somebody is going to download one file, I wanted them to have the counting cards as well. And so you wouldn't necessarily have to download the number cards for every single letter. You could download them for the letter A and then just reuse those cards all the way through the alphabet, if that makes sense. The other thing that's included in each letter are these large floor numbers, and we love this game, my kids love this, but you're printing out, you know, 10 large color copies for each letter. You don't necessarily have to do that either. You can do this for, you know, every few letters, or you can kind of print them out for one of the main letters and then just reuse them every week, and that kind of thing. So that will save on printing costs. The other thing is that you do not have to print all of this stuff on cardstock. I did because I wanted it to be durable and reusable. The two things I suggest you do on cardstock would be the lacing cards, just because they get used quite a bit. Here's a sample of the letter A lacing card, and as you can see, I just hole punched it with a regular hole punch, and I did laminate this. I did do my famous laminate on one side and not on the other side, just to save on money. That's another money saving tip. But these, since they're going to be running some kind of string through them or yarn or whatever, the paper can tear. So I do suggest cardstock and lamination for these. And then maybe even for these, although we did some of these on just regular copy paper and it was totally fine. And if you use regular copy paper and laminate it, it actually still makes it quite a bit more durable. So you could save on cardstock. You wouldn't necessarily have to have a super thick piece of cardstock for most of these activities. So printing on copy paper, you could also save money by printing it in grayscale. It's certainly not as pretty and fun, but that is another way to save money on that. And then the other thing that I wanted to mention is Best Value Copy. They aren't paying me for this or anything like that, but they do offer really, really inexpensive color copies, and I think they're somewhere between 9 to 11 cents per color copy, which is amazing. I do think that there is an upload fee for you to upload files after a certain amount of files, but if you look at the cost of printing color copies anywhere else or even at home, it is worth it to pay the upload fee versus you know, paying for extra ink and all that kind of thing for your home printer. Or I think, gosh, last time I was at my local office supply store, I want to say it was 60-something cents per page. So bestvaluecopy.com is a great money saver as far as printing a lot of these materials off. All right, the last thing I want to show you really quick is the Preschool Daily Learning Notebook, and we do this every morning. And for the preschool one, it does come with, hopefully you can see this, traceable pages. So at the top of the page, they're going to know that today is Monday. They just have to trace over the letters, so it's just good handwriting practice. They're going to find today's number, so if today is the 11th or whatever, they're going to circle this number. They'll write that number here. They'll write 10, is because that's what comes before it, not, 9 comes before it and 11 comes after it, and then they're going to write today's number word. And this also comes with a printable number cards that have the numbers on here that you can just stick in there so that they can trace over them if they're not comfortable writing the words yet, and all that. So those are Monday through, I believe I did Sunday. This Mine only goes through Friday because that's what we do. And then it also comes with what time is it, what time was it an hour ago, what time will it be in 2 hours, and then you're going to be making the date in coins. And so if today were the 11th, they would write 11 here, and then they could use, 11 pennies, or they could use 2 nickels and 1 penny, or however you want to help them kind of sort that out. There's also what type of clothes they're going to wear today as far as what the weather is like. There's also a weather grid, which it's not in here for some reason, but there is one. I'm going to do a more thorough review of this book on a separate video, and then they're going to count their days in school. They're going to practice writing their name, and then each one comes, for the preschool version, comes with traceable calendar pages. So each day they'll go in and trace over whatever the number is, and then they'll mark whatever the weather is for that day. And then at the end they're going to say what the most common weather was for that month, and you guys can kind of talk about that. And then there's a whole section on numbers, and I'm not sure if you can see these, but there's little light dots in here, so they can either color them or put 5 stickers on it, or however you want to do it, and trace. They'll be tracing the number as well. And then and those go up to 100. And then for the alphabet, each day they're going to be, doing a letter, and then they can color in pictures that start with that and trace the number. There's also a bunch of shapes covered in here as well. So they're covering their letters, their shapes, and their numbers in the back of their daily notebook. But mainly it's for the calendar practice for each day. And like I said, I'll go into more detail on this in another post, but that also comes with the Letter of the Week download. So that is my Letter of the Week curriculum. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me. You can also visit my website, and under the free printable section, you can get a lot of that for free on my website as well. So I hope you enjoyed that, and I will see you next time.